Welcome to Hoffman's Hot Seat. I'm Tom Hoffman at One-to-One Media. Joining me today is Tim Kopp, Chief Marketing Officer at ExactTarget. Today we'll be discussing the convergence of email marketing and social media. Tim, thanks for joining us today.
Sure thing. Thanks for having me.
Social marketing via email has been around for a while, as you know. What are some recent trends you're seeing involving email marketing and social media?
Yeah, I think there's a few interesting things that are happening. One of the first things that kind of call attention to is fielded some research at the end of last year with over 1,500 consumers from around the world. A couple interesting things jumped out of that. The first one is kind of the good news if you're in the email marketing space is that consumers prefer email more than 3-to-1 for marketing communications. Kind of the maybe not so good news if you're in the email marketing business is though a vast majority of consumers prefer email over other kinds of communication. Only 15% of consumers want all of their marketing messages to come through email. And I think a lot of that's due to the explosive growth in Twitter. So Forrester, for example, would predict that social media overall is the fastest growing digital channel. It'll reach over $3 billion by 2014. With over the 1,000% growth rate that Twitter had last year, over 6 million unique visitors, kind of according to ComScore. Now, over 2/3 of the Fortune 100 are on Twitter, and there is massive reach within Twitter, within Facebook, within other channels that's undeniable. And the opportunity is to figure out how to connect with marketers across any of the channels that they prefer as relevant.
What are some of the challenges or missed opportunities you're seeing in the market?
A couple of the challenges, I would say first off, is just get in the game, get in the conversation. As brand marketers and as other marketers, there are all these conversations that are happening about your brand. Many of the conversations you're facilitating or maybe igniting those conversations as part of an advertising campaign. Many of them you're not. They're due to kind of a poor customer service experience or they're due to other things that might be happening around the brand. So my belief really is that your brand is really equal to the sum of the conversations that are happening about you. And if you really want to be an active steward of your brand and really treat it as customers are treating it, as they're engaging with you kind of in an active, genuine way, you need to get in the dialogue, just get in the discussion and begin to engage. And I think there's this kind of trepidation to just get into the social media game and to begin to explore it. I think the first thing you need to do is just start listening. So it would kind of be the first piece of advice I would have is just begin to listen, begin to understand, begin to get in the game and better understand things. The second thing I would say is it really requires a pretty robust set of tools to do this kind of work. So regardless of the number of individuals inside your company, whether it's dozens or hundreds or thousands, there will be many folks who are engaging on Twitter, as an example. And how do you go about pulling all of that discussion into kind of a common framework? And that's why we felt our acquisition of CoTweet earlier this year made so much sense. It was providing the workflow, the rules, the enterprise sort of workflow that would sit on top of Twitter to better help direct discussions of the appropriate people, which kind of leads to the final thing that I think is important is to create this common view of customer across your organization. And how do you pull together the dialogue that's happening either in email or on a mobile device or on the website and pull those together into a common interactive marketing hub that gives you a unified view of your customer across all channels?
What are some best practices for combining email marketing with social media effectively?
I think a few of the best practices, I would start off with, first off, understand your customer. It sounds very, very obvious, but understand your customer. Understand how they want to be communicated with. Create a channel preference subscription center so that you can really better understand how your customers want to be communicated with. And just ask them. Ask them how they want to be communicated with, and then find ways to reach out to them and begin to engage. So if somebody would rather be communicated with via email, that's terrific. If they'd rather get their communications via Twitter, that works as well. So I'd say, first off, ask them. The second thing I would say is integrate all of this into a common platform that gives you a unified view of your customer. I think the last thing that you would want to have happen is somebody in brand marketing communicating with somebody in a different way than they would in customer service, then in a different way than they might kind of at a different part of the organization. So better understanding all of the channels of communication that you have and pulling them into a common framework that ideally would integrate things like web analytics, that would integrate things like your CRM system and pull all of those together into kind of that common view that really starts with data and how do you leverage data to better communicate. And then a third piece would really be more about the organizational change elements that kind of go along with this. And to drive an active customer dialogue across your organization means active engagement with senior management, active engagement cross-functionally across multiple areas, and then you really do need the proper set of technology to go along with kind of the change agent portion of the role that goes with it.
Tim, thanks so much for sharing your views with us today.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate you having me.
To learn more about relationship strategy, visit www.one-to-one-media.com.